The rain hammered against the windows of the Seattle Police Department's Cybercrime Division as Detective Sarah Williams stared at her computer screen in disbelief. Another teenager had vanished, the fourth one this month. All were gifted young programmers. All disappeared without a trace after receiving mysterious job offers from tech companies that didn't exist. Maya Chen pushed through the glass doors of the police station, her purple streaked hair damp from the rain. Her custom laptop bag slung over her shoulder. She approached Detective Williams' desk with the confident stride of someone who had navigated both corporate boardrooms and underground hacker networks. Detective Williams. "I'm Maya Chin, the cybersecurity consultant you requested." Maya's voice carried a slight urgency as she pulled up a chair. "I've been tracking the same pattern you have. These aren't random disappearances." Sarah looked up from her files, noting the young woman's sharp intelligence immediately visible in her dark eyes behind stylish glasses. "What do you know about the missing teenagers?" Maya opened her laptop, the neon blue LED strips casting an ethereal glow as the screen came to life. "Someone is hunting young programmers. They're using sophisticated social engineering, creating fake tech companies, offering dream internships. The victims think they're going to change the world. And instead, they disappear into what I believe is a human trafficking operation, specifically targeting young tech talent." Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up encrypted files. "I've been investigating similar cases across the country. Seattle isn't the only city being targeted." Meanwhile, across town in a modest apartment, 16-year-old Emma Rodriguez sat hunched over her computer, eyes bright with excitement as she read an email that would change her life forever. The message was from Nexus Innovations, a company she'd never heard of, but whose job offer seemed good to be true. "Dear Emma," she read aloud to her empty room. "Your programming skills and innovative approach to artificial intelligence have caught our attention. We'd like to offer you an exclusive internship opportunity that could launch your career in ways you never imagined." Emma's fingers trembled as she continued reading. The salary was more than her single mother made in 6 months. The projects described sounded like science fiction becoming reality. All she had to do was attend a private interview at their downtown offices tomorrow evening. She grabbed her phone to call her best friend, then hesitated. The email specifically mentioned confidentiality agreements. Maybe she should wait until after the interview to share the news. After all, this could be her ticket out of their struggling neighborhood and into the tech world she'd dreamed of joining. Back at the police station, Maya had connected her laptop to the department's secure network and was deep in analysis mode. Her screen showed a complex web of connections, false identities, and digital breadcrumbs that painted a disturbing picture. "Look at this," Maya said, pointing to a series of data points on her screen. Every victim received their initial contact through platforms where they'd showcased their coding skills. GitHub repositories, programming forums, hackathons. Someone is systematically identifying and targeting the most promising young programmers. Detective Williams leaned closer, her years of experience in criminal investigation merging with Maya's technical expertise. "What's the endgame? Why specifically target programmers? That's what worries me most." Maya's expression darkened. In the digital age, skilled programmers are incredibly valuable. They could be forced to work on illegal projects, create malware, hack into systems, or develop tools for criminal organizations. Imagine having a dozen brilliant teenagers with no choice but to code whatever you demand. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message. Another worried parent had called the department. Another teenager had received a mysterious job offer and hadn't been seen since going to what they thought was an interview. "We need to set up a sting operation," Sarah said, her detective instincts kicking in. "Can you create a fake profile that would attract their attention?" Maya's eyes lit up with a mixture of determination and concern. "I can do better than that. I can trace their recruitment network and find where they're operating from. But it's going to be dangerous. These people are sophisticated, and they're clearly willing to kidnap teenagers to get what they want. As Maya worked, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with practiced precision, she began to uncover layers of deception that ran deeper than either she or Detective Williams had imagined. The fake companies had legitimate-looking websites, professional email addresses, and even fake employee profiles complete with social media accounts dating back years. This is professional-level social engineering, Maya muttered, her concentration intense. Whoever is running this operation has serious resources and technical skills. They're not just criminals. They're tech-savvy criminals with significant funding. Emma Rodriguez was getting ready for her interview, carefully selecting her best clothes and organizing her portfolio of programming projects. She'd spent the morning researching Nexus Innovations online and found their website impressive, their mission statement inspiring, and their employee testimonials convincing. What Emma didn't know was that every piece of information she'd found had been carefully crafted to deceive her. The testimonials were from actors, the projects were stolen from legitimate companies, and the downtown office address led to a building that had been abandoned for months. As evening approached, Emma kissed her mother goodbye, promising to call as soon as the interview was over. Her mother, working double shifts as a nurse, barely had time to wish her daughter luck before rushing off to her second job. Emma took the bus downtown, her messenger bag filled with printed code samples, her tablet, and dreams of a future that seemed suddenly within reach. She didn't notice the black sedan that had been following the bus for the past 6 blocks. Maya's investigation had led her to a breakthrough. She'd identified the pattern in the kidnappings and traced the digital footprints back to a sophisticated operation run by someone using the alias Victor Kane. Her research revealed that Kane was likely involved in international cybercrime, using kidnapped programmers to develop tools for everything from identity theft to corporate espionage. "I found him," Maya announced, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Victor Kane. He's been using different names, but the digital signature is consistent. He's running a tech trafficking operation that spans multiple states." Detective Williams looked at the information Maya had compiled. "Can you track his current location? I'm working on it, but he's good at covering his tracks. However, I think I know how to find him." Maya's plan was risky but potentially effective. "I'm going to pose as a target, create a profile that would attract his attention, then trace the contact back to its source." "Absolutely not," Sarah said firmly. "We're not putting a civilian in danger." "With respect, Detective, I'm not exactly a civilian. I've been doing this for years, and I'm probably the only person in this city with the technical skills to track him effectively." Maya's determination was evident. "Besides, he's already taken 4 teenagers. How many more disappear while we're trying to build a case the traditional way?" As they argued, Emma Rodriguez was walking into a trap. The downtown address had led her to an office building that looked legitimate from the outside. But the elevator that was supposed to take her to the 15th floor for her interview instead descended to a basement level that didn't appear on any building directory. Emma's first indication that something was wrong came when the elevator doors opened to reveal a stark, windowless room filled with computer equipment and several other teenagers who looked frightened and confused. Before she could react, strong hands grabbed her arms and pulled her into the room. "Welcome to your new workplace," a cold voice said behind her. Emma turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit, his grey eyes devoid of warmth. "I'm Victor Kane, and you're going to be working for me now." Emma's mind raced as she realized the horrible truth. This wasn't an interview. It was a kidnapping. The other teenagers in the room, she recognized some of them from local programming competitions and online forums. They were all talented, all young, and all trapped. "You can't do this," Emma said, her voice shaking but defiant. People will look for us? Victor smiled, but it was a predator's smile. People are looking for you. That's why you're here, in a location that doesn't officially exist, working on projects that will never be traced back to me. You're going to use your skills to help me access systems, steal data, and create tools that will make me very wealthy. And if we refuse, then you'll discover that there are much worse things than writing code. Victor's threat was delivered with casual cruelty. But I don't think you'll refuse. You see, I've done my research on each of you. I know about your families, your dreams, your weaknesses. Cooperation is really your only option. Emma looked around the room at the other captives. They were seated at high-end computers, working on various projects under the watchful eyes of armed guards. The setup was sophisticated, clearly designed for long-term operation. Meanwhile, Maya had convinced Detective Williams to let her proceed with the sting operation, but with backup and surveillance. She'd created an online profile as a 17-year-old programming prodigy, complete with impressive code samples and a carefully crafted digital history that would make her irresistible to Victor Kane's recruitment network. It didn't take long for the bait to work. Within hours, Maya received a message from Nexus Innovations, offering her the same type of exclusive internship opportunity that had lured the other victims. The interview was scheduled for that evening, at the same downtown location where Emma had disappeared. He's moving fast, Maya observed, studying the message. That suggests he's either very confident or very desperate. Either way, it's our chance to find where he's keeping those kids. Detective Williams had assembled a team of officers, but Maya insisted on going in alone initially to avoid spooking the operation. She would wear a wire and GPS tracker, with the police team positioned nearby to move in once they'd confirmed the location and assessed the situation. As Maya prepared for the undercover operation, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into something far more dangerous than a simple kidnapping ring. The level of sophistication she'd uncovered suggested that Victor Kane was connected to much larger criminal networks, possibly international ones. Emma, meanwhile, was refusing to cooperate with Victor's demands. She'd been assigned to work on a project that would create backdoors into major social media platforms, allowing unauthorized access to millions of user accounts. Despite threats and intimidation, she continued to write code that appeared functional but contained subtle sabotage that would prevent the malware from working properly. "You're being very foolish," Victor told her, his patience wearing thin. "I have ways of motivating compliance that you really don't want to experience." "I'm not going to help you hurt people," Emma replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "You can threaten me all you want, but I won't be part of this." Victor's response was swift and cruel. He ordered his men to bring in Emma's mother, who had been quietly kidnapped while leaving her second job. The sight of her terrified mother being held at gunpoint shattered Emma's resolve. "Now," Victor said softly, "let's discuss your cooperation again." Maya arrived at the downtown building that evening, her senses alert for any sign of danger. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who directed her to a specific elevator. As the elevator descended below ground level, Maya's training kicked in. She was entering a controlled environment with limited escape routes, exactly the kind of situation she'd been taught to avoid. The elevator opened to reveal the same room where Emma and the other teenagers were being held. Maya quickly assessed the situationing. 7 young people at computer workstations, at least 4 armed guards, and the man who could only be Victor Kane approaching her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Maya Chen?" he said, extending his hand. "I'm Victor Kane."
"Thank you for coming."
Maya shook his hand while mentally cataloging everything she observed. The room was a sophisticated operation, clearly designed for long-term use. The other teenagers looked frightened but unharmed. Most importantly, she spotted Emma Rodriguez, who she recognized from missing person reports. I have to say, your programming portfolio is impressive, Victor continued. We have some exciting projects that could really showcase your talents. What kind of projects? Maya asked, playing her role as an eager young programmer. The kind that push boundaries, that challenge conventional thinking about what's possible in the digital realm. Victor's explanation was deliberately vague, but Maya could see the computer screens around the room displayed code for various malicious programs. Emma, recognizing Maya as someone new, caught her eye and mouthed the word help. Maya gave the slightest nod, hoping to convey that rescue was coming. Victor led Maya to a computer terminal, explaining that she would start with a simple project to demonstrate her abilities. The task was to create a program that could bypass standard security protocols, ostensibly for testing purposes. Maya began typing, but like Emma, she was writing code that appeared functional while actually containing hidden flaws. However, Victor was more technical than he initially appeared. Within minutes, he was standing behind her, studying her work with growing suspicion. Interesting approach, he said, his voice taking on a dangerous edge. But I think you're trying to be too clever. Maya's heart rate increased as she realized her deception had been discovered. She continued typing, hoping to buy time for the police backup to arrive, but Victor was already signaling his guards. You know, Victor said conversationally, I've been doing this for a long time. I've learned to spot law enforcement operations, corporate espionage, and well-meaning do-gooders who think they can infiltrate my organization. Maya's hand moved slowly toward the emergency signal device hidden in her jacket, but Victor's voice stopped her. I wouldn't do that if I were you. You see, I've been monitoring police communications for the past hour. I know about Detective Williams and her team positioned outside. I know about your wire and your GPS tracker. What I don't know is why you thought this amateur hour operation would work against someone of my caliber. The situation had gone from dangerous to potentially lethal. Maya looked around the room, assessing escape routes and potential weapons. The other teenagers were watching with a mixture of hope and terror, clearly understanding that their fate was tied to whatever happened next. Here's what's going to happen, Victor continued. You're going to send a message to your police friends telling them that the building is empty, that you were sent to a different location, and that they should continue their search elsewhere. Then you're going to join our little programming team permanently. Maya's mind raced through options. She could try to overpower Victor, but he had multiple armed guards. She could refuse to send the message, but that would likely result in immediate violence. She could comply and hope for another opportunity, but that would mean abandoning the teenagers to their fate. Emma, watching the confrontation, made a decision that would change everything. She had been working on more than just the assigned malware project. For the past several days, she had been secretly using her computer access to map the building's network, identify security systems, and create a digital blueprint of their prison. Now, with everyone's attention focused on Maya and Victor, Emma executed a program she had been hiding in the system. The lights went out, emergency exits unlocked, and the building's fire alarm began blaring. In the chaos that followed, Maya's training took over. She dove toward the nearest computer terminal. Not to escape, but to ensure that none of the malicious code being developed in the room could be used to harm innocent people. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, uploading a virus she had prepared that would corrupt all the criminal projects and send copies of the evidence to law enforcement databases. Victor's shouts were barely audible over the fire alarm as his carefully controlled operation descended into chaos. The other teenagers, following Emma's lead, began destroying equipment and deleting files. The guards were trying to restore order while dealing with the building's security systems, which Emma had programmed to lock down certain areas while opening others. Detective Williams and her team, hearing the fire alarm and losing contact with Maya, made the decision to move in immediately. They breached the building through multiple entrances, following the GPS signal from Maya's tracker to the basement level. The confrontation in the computer room was brief but intense. Victor, realizing his operation was completely compromised, attempted to escape through a back exit, but found his path blocked by police officers. His guards, faced with overwhelming odds, surrendered without a fight. Maya, Emma, and the other teenagers were evacuated safely, but the impact of their ordeal was just beginning to be understood. Maya's virus had successfully corrupted the criminal projects, but not before copying terabytes of data that revealed the scope of Victor's operation. In the days that followed, investigators discovered that Vic Kane's operation was part of a much larger international network that had been kidnapping young programmers across multiple countries. The evidence Maya had gathered led to arrests in 6 different nations and the rescue of dozens of other victims. Emma Rodriguez became something of a local hero, her quick thinking and technical skills having been instrumental in the rescue. She was offered genuine internships and scholarships from legitimate tech companies, but she decided to finish high school first, with Maya serving as her mentor. "You saved more than just the people in that room," Maya told Emma as they sat in a coffee shop weeks later, Emma's laptop displaying a new programming project she was working on. "You saved all the future victims who would have been targeted by that network." Emma smiled, but her expression was thoughtful. "I keep thinking about how easy it was to fool us. These people are really good at making their lies look like opportunities." "That's exactly why the world needs programmers like you," Maya replied. "People who understand both the technology and the human cost of how it's used." Detective Williams, reviewing the case files, was struck by how close they had come to failure. Without Maya's technical expertise and Emma's courage, Victor Kane's operation might have continued for years, claiming hundreds of victims. The case had also highlighted the growing threat of technology-enabled human trafficking, particularly targeting young people with specialized skills. New protocols were being developed to help identify and prevent such operations, with Maya serving as a consultant to law enforcement agencies. Victor Kane himself was facing charges in multiple jurisdictions, but his arrest had created a power vacuum that other criminal organizations were already moving to fill. The fight against tech trafficking was far from over, but the rescue of Emma and the other teenagers had struck a significant blow against the networks that preyed on young talent. Emma's mother, who had been rescued unharmed, struggled with guilt over not recognizing the danger her daughter had been in. But Emma, wise beyond her years, helped her understand that the deception had been sophisticated and designed to fool anyone. "The important thing is that we're safe now," Emma told her mother, "and that other families won't have to go through what we did." Maya continued her work as a cybersecurity consultant, but her experience with the Kane case had changed her perspective on the responsibility that came with technical expertise. She began developing educational programs to help young programmers recognize and avoid similar recruitment scams. The story of the rescue spread through the tech community, serving as both a warning and an inspiration. Young programmers learned to be more cautious about unsolicited job offers, while the story of Emma's bravery inspired others to use their skills responsibly. Emma herself became an advocate for cybersecurity education, speaking at schools and programming camps about the importance of using technology to protect rather than exploit. Her message was simple but powerful. With great coding ability comes great responsibility. The friendship between Maya and Emma grew stronger as they worked together on various projects, with Maya providing the experience and Emma bringing fresh perspectives on how technology could be used to solve problems and protect people. Detective Williams, reflecting on the case, realized that traditional law enforcement methods were inadequate for dealing with highly technical crimes. She began advocating for better training and resources for police departments to handle cybercrimes and tech-enabled trafficking. The case of the Digital Guardian, as it came to be known in law enforcement circles, served as a wake-up call about the evolving nature of criminal exploitation in the digital age. It also demonstrated the power of collaboration between technical experts and law enforcement in protecting society's most vulnerable members. Emma's story became a testament to the idea that age and experience are not always prerequisites for heroism, and that sometimes the most effective resistance from those who understand both the technology being misused and the human cost of that misuse. As Maya often reminded her young friend, you didn't just save yourself that day. You saved everyone who would have been hurt by the tools they were forcing you to create. That's the kind of impact that makes all the difference in the world. The Digital Guardian had protected her fellow prisoners, but in doing so, she had also protected countless others who would never know how close they had come to danger. It was a reminder that in the interconnected world of technology, acts of courage and conscience could have far-reaching effects, rippling outward to protect people across the globe. The story ended not with a simple rescue, but with the beginning of a new chapter in the fight against technology-enabled exploitation. Led by a young woman who had learned that the greatest power of programming was not in what you could build, but in what you chose to protect.